So he gonna sit there and tell you that he's a boy dressed like a girl, still have breasts, and he has a wee-wee between his legs, and you still kissed him? I don't mean to be nasty, y'all, but this is crazy. Welcome, you guys. This is James from the I'm Free Project. Remember to subscribe, like, and share this video today. And we are going to get right into something that it sort of blew me away. I mean, I guess in a way I am almost surprised. I'm surprised, but I'm not surprised about some of the things that are happening in this world, what is going on, but it's all unfolding right before our eyes. And I don't know if you caught it or not, but if you haven't, I'm going to tell you all about it because that's my job, I guess, to keep you informed in terms of the foolishness that's going on around here. So anyway, let's get right into it. So the other day I was watching television on my tablet and just trying to find something to look at, I guess, just to zone out a little bit. And I turned on that show Star. It is the new show by none other than Lee Daniels. And we all know Lee Daniels, we all know about his show Empire, and now he has the new show Star. And Star is turning out to be a really big hit. It's getting rave reviews, and it seems like it's an exciting show. So I was like, let me see what this show is all about. And it just so happened that one day I was on YouTube and I was looking at a couple of videos, and I found this video that had one of his co-stars in the video. And the co-star starts to talk about how some of the story that's in his storyline is based on his life in a sense. So I found that interesting, so that made me want to actually see the show a little bit more. So with that in mind, I was like, okay, so let me go ahead and pull up this episode. So anyway, so I go onto Xfinity, I pull up the episode and I start to watch it. And as we all know with Lee Daniels, you know, so he's got the pretty girls dancing, and it's all about these girls, a girl group trying to make it big in the industry and get discovered and all of that. And it has all of the background drama that you would expect from a Lee Daniels show. So anyway, so the show goes on, and one of the characters is a transgender male to female by the name of Amaya Scott. Now, I took the opportunity after seeing that, looking up some of Amaya Scott's videos online and some of the things that people were saying about Amaya and some of the articles that have been written about Amaya. And you know what? I'm looking at it like, okay, I see Amaya is really doing some things within the industry. And you know what? Kudos to him. And now I say kudos to him because him is still a him and not a her, although her tries to refer to herself as a girl, Amaya Scott, which was a male to female, quote unquote, transgender, transformation, transition, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, but that's not the case. That's not the main point of my video here. The main point of my video here is, you know what? Kudos to you, Amaya Scott. Go ahead and work. Go ahead and work the scene. Go ahead and work the opportunities. I'm not mad at you. That's what the world, that's what we do. You have an opportunity, you go ahead and take it, and you ride the wave while you have it. So you know what? Kudos to you in that regard. Now, as it relates to the show, as I'm watching the show, I'm really surprised and I'm gonna take it aback because one of the scenes is that, okay, the episode number is number 8, episode 8, and this is the first season of the show, and it's called Mama's Boy. And in this, and I'm also, this is a two-edged sword here in the sense that I'm going to also talk about Lee Daniels and how he always like to tie religion in to it and sort of make religion look bad. So now anyway, so in this episode, it's called Mama's Boy. And in this episode, Amaya Scott plays, I think it's Cotton is the name, Cotton, I believe that's the character name that he plays. And so Cotton is actually out on a date with this man, and they're sitting out in the car, they're sitting parked, they're in front of the house, and they're having a little conversation, and Cotton, played by Amaya Scott, is then explaining to the man that, you know, she's not who she says she is. Well, she explains to him her date. See, I get confused every time I get into this stuff, but she explains to him that she still has a penis. And I don't mean to offend anybody by saying that, but I mean, it's genitalia, that she still has male genitalia. Although up top, she has breasts, down below, she has male genitalia. So her date, a man, an Asian man, and you know, he looks a little bit confused. He calls her, before saying that, he says to her that she's the most beautiful girl he's ever seen. And so she begins to explain that he begins to, when I say he, I mean Amaya Scott, but in the character, she begins to explain that she still has a penis. And so her date is sort of taken aback. And so Amaya starts to get out the car, Cotton starts to get out the car, and then I think he pulls her back. I only watched the scene once. I wasn't going to watch it again. It was too much. So he pulls her back into the car, and I think he says that you're one of the most beautiful women that he's ever known or ever seen, and this and that, and the camera pans down to his hand while he is holding her hand, and in the scene they kiss. What? I said, did they just show a man, quote unquote, real man kissing a, the street language as they call it, is a chick with, and I'm not going to say that, but, and I'm not, and this is in no way trying to say anything bad about Amaya Scott. Please don't get me wrong. Again, I congratulate anybody that moves up in the ranks of what they are trying to do in terms of their career. I could care less. That is your business. You work the scene the way you work it the way that you need to work it in order for you to get discovered. That's between you and God. Now, here's my thing. My thing is this. Number one is that they are really pushing this transgender agenda on us. And I said this a long time ago, is that if you open up the doors for the homosexuals, then you've got to open up the doors for the transgender, because it only flows naturally in that cause. And that the same argument that homosexuals use for their quote unquote civil rights, the same thing that transgenders are going to use. And now, of course, we're all up on the bathroom issues. Anyway, so they showed a man kissing this transgender who still has the male genitalia down below. I'm like, did you really put that on television right now? Did you really put that on television? I was really thrown off with that. I was like, oh my gosh, I cannot believe that they are really going there. But, and the creative side of Lee Daniels and his crew, they are going to push your buttons. And he is using his platform to get people's minds to think about issues of today, because they do a lot of Black Lives Matter and all of those issues as the show goes on. And you'll see there are a lot of things concerning rallies and BLM and all that kind of stuff. So he covers the gamut of issues in his shows, and that's for both Empire and this. So, but anyway. Yeah, I was really thrown off with that. But then the scene actually gets a little weirder, simply because, not this scene, but then he flips it on his head. And there's this one scene where Amaya Scott / Cotton has a conversation with Mom, who is played by Queen Latifah. And now Amaya Scott, when she comes in from her date out of the car, she comes in, and the pastor, who is being played by Tyrese, is actually feeling all up on the mama. And they're sitting on the table, and from the sound of, from what he said, it sounds like they've already had sexual relations before, that they've already been fooling around. And here he is, the pastor, and he's fooling around with this woman of the world who runs this beauty shop, which is Queen Latifah, and Queen Latifah being Amaya Scott's mother. Follow along with me here. Amaya Scott comes in with her date and this and that, and so introduces her date to the pastor, and of course when she walks in on the pastor filling up on her mom, she has this twisted look on her face like, what are y'all doing, pastor? That kind of thing. So anyway, so then the mother sets up a situation. The mother actually slaps. The whole thing gets a little crazy. There does a scene where Queen Latifah slaps Amaya, and then they have an apology session, and then she sets up a time of prayer for the pastor to come by, and they have a time of prayer. Now, here's where it gets this denigrating scene about the church. So in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but this is my opinion. So in the scene, he then has Tyrese Gibson. They're all sitting at the table. Tyrese Gibson then begins to pray over Amaya Scott / Cotton. And so then when he praying, he starts, laying hands on him, talking about demons come out of him, and, rebuking this confusion, spirit of confusion, and so forth and so forth. And so And of course, Amaya and the mom, they're just like, what is going on? And I think at that point, the mom realized that she's done something that she should not have done, or she wasn't expecting to happen, in the fact that the pastor is praying. So now Amaya's trembling and crying and this and that, and it's just going into this, this shock fit, and going into this shock fit, like, what is going on? What is happening? Mom, why did you allow this to happen? And the pastor, is trying to lay hands and cast out demons and this and that, while he has his own demons, apparently, because that's a part of what the whole scene is trying to convey after that. For the mere fact of, after all of that drama goes down, Queen Latifah kicks the pastor out, and Amaya, of course, is trembling and going through issues, and then they show Amaya in the next scene with a gun to her head. And that scene right there, again, pulling on your heartstrings, to have a little bit more understanding for the transgender community, which, don't get me wrong, we have a heart for the transgender community, to let you know that Jesus Christ can change you from the inside out, because you can do all you want to the outside, but the inside is always going to stay the same. It's always going to be the DNA of a man. Doesn't matter what you do to the outside. You see how dark skinned I am? I can go get so much bleach done to this skin, I can come out looking like a redhead from Ireland. But I'm telling you what, if I have some babies, those babies are going to look like this. They're going to have this big nose. They're going to have all of this. It's not going to change the inside. Don't you get it? My DNA is being transferred. I can change the outside all day long. What's going on in your head is a whole different issue. Now, anyway, so with that being said, so Amaya's got standing there with the gun. I got off kilter right there. Anyway, so with that being said, so Amaya's got standing there with the gun. I got off kilter right there. Anyway, I had to say that. But anyway, with Amaya Scott with the gun to the head, the main star, one of the main stars coming to scene, talk about, go ahead and do it, and sort of making them like, you punk, you ain't gonna really do this, you ain't gonna really do that. So then, they start to laugh and this and that, and she puts the gun down and so forth. And the pastor, the next scene, the pastor is sitting in his chair with his Bible, and he's feeling sort of guilty, like he's guilt-ridden about what he just tried to do with Cotton. And then he looks at, down, and he's looking all distraught and like, how could I even do that when I got my own issues? And he goes to take off his collar. Now that says a lot, in the sense that and he says, who am I to judge? He says, who am I to judge? Now, we have to understand, and I say this with love, we have to understand, it's like, I'm not judging you. I'm not judging the transgender. What you do is your business. And I'm going to get on another subject, because, again, when we get into that whole idea of it doesn't matter what you do, then you allow more stuff to come into you when you just do what you want to do, that just go around pleasing whatever a sense of pleasure that you desire. So now, when he starts to take that off and he makes that statement, who am I to judge? It's as if to say that, I'm stepping away from this right here, because this right here is making me look bad. This right here is probably not the way that I need to go about being a pastor. So now, if he is being guilt-ridden because he himself has demons and trying to do some things with other people, then I can sort of get that. But in a sense, it seems to me that they're really trying to portray that, it's the church that's always trying to judge people and put people down and make people feel bad when they themselves are a big mess. And again, trying to make the church look bad because of someone else. Because this pastor over here sleeping with somebody means the whole church is bad, and that's not the case. You can't judge the whole church or the body of Christ because you got some fool over here cutting up. So anyway, and then after that, I'm sitting there, I'm like, wow, you really went there. Y'all really went there and showing all of this. And again, it ties back into that, the whole feeling sorry for the transgender, feeling sorry for the homosexual, pulling on your heartstrings, your emotional strings, so that people who may be confused or on the fence, like, I don't know where to stand on the issue, then they're like, oh my gosh, people are committing suicide and this and that, and wow. And don't get me wrong. It's sad when someone commits suicide because of someone else's hatred. That really bothers me. But when you use that as a mantra and you're using it as a hook to get people in alignment with your cause, then I have an issue, because if you're not basing your cause on facts, then to me, you've lost it. You've lost any bearing that you had with it. You've lost any foothold that you had. Because again, with transgenderism, you are thinking that you are something that you're not. Again, I can think that I'm a bird, I can think that I'm a dog. It doesn't change the fact that I'm human. It doesn't change. I can think that I'm white, I can think I'm Asian, I can think that I'm Sarah Jessica Parker. I will always be James, black man living in the South here in Atlanta. And really, we can go on all day with that, and I can do everything to the outside of my body. And speaking of doing everything to the outside of your body, check this out right here. Now look at this one. As I'm going through YouTube, I come across these videos on these short clips on botched. I'm going to leave a link below to both of these, but man, oh man, oh man, I tell you, this is what happens when you start opening up that door to that mutilation stuff, and people not appreciating themselves for who they are. For who they are and the way that they were made, trying to build this image of perfection, and then getting all into this gender stuff, because see, they're trying to do away with gender, as though gender doesn't matter, as though God did not create male and female. Either you're born male or female. There is no gender assignment when you are created in the womb. So it is what it is. After a while, the doctors can see that you're going to be a male. So anyway, so you see those pictures? You see, I don't know if I should leave them up or whatever, or take them down, whatever. But did you see the pictures? It just drove me crazy. So look at the links below, and this really broke my heart. And this is the thing that really gets to me, you guys. This is what gets to me. This is what breaks my heart about all of this. And when I say it breaks my heart, it really does break my heart. The one that's talking about he wants to be an alien, a genderless alien, literally, I almost started to cry, because my heart went out to that person, that they are walking in so much deception from the enemy that they actually feel that this is the way that they need to be. They are so uncomfortable with being human. They are so uncomfortable with the gender that they were born with, that they actually have to go through all this mutilation to actually escape whatever traumatic pain that they're dealing with. Post-traumatic depression, whatever. I don't know what they're dealing with, but it's deeper. And thinking that doing all this cutting on the face and reshaping your skull and reshaping your chin to try to look like this and look like that. It's really heartbreaking. And see, the only thing you can keep getting the cut, you can keep trying to do some implants, you can keep putting all this up here, trying to make yourself, but eventually, number one, gravity is going to have its way. Number two, that stuff doesn't last. Number three, you are opening yourself up for possible physical ailments in the future. And then number four, it doesn't fill that void that only God can fill. It doesn't fill the void that only God could fill. You can do all that reshaping of your body. You can do all of that you feel that you need to do to look good for other people, and to say, oh, well, I'm doing this for me. But when in actuality, you're doing it for the vanity reasons, and that you want people to look at you so they can say, oh my gosh, you look beautiful. Oh my gosh, you are so sexy. You turn me on, and this and that. And so in your mind, so you can feel comfortable with how you are presenting yourself. And at the end of the day, the only thing that's going to make you feel comfortable in knowing who you are is through Jesus Christ. That is the only way. He is the only one that's going to satisfy that void that's in our hearts. We can go and do this. We can go fill it up with drugs. We can fill it up with sex. We can fill it up with all this cosmetic surgery. But at the end of the day, Jesus Christ is the only one. Is the only one that's going to be able to give you that sense of personhood, that sense of self, that sense of knowing who you are, and calling you into that place of being who you are called to be. Not Hollywood, not your favorite celebrity, not the next doctor who can cut you up and make you look like Michael Jackson or somebody, but only Jesus Christ. So I'm telling you, no matter how far you've gotten, no matter how far you've gotten off the track, no matter how far that you think you went, God can reverse all of that. God can change all of that, but it starts right here in the heart. And it starts with us acknowledging what we've done and handing it over to Him and asking Him for forgiveness, repenting of our sins and asking for Him to come into our hearts and be our Savior. We've all done things. We've all messed up. I've done things that I shouldn't have done. Before becoming a Christian and after becoming a Christian. And every day I need his grace just as much as the next person who don't even know him. And so with that being said, we all have to humble ourselves and come to the knowledge and understanding that, you know what, I'm an imperfect being. And it's only because of you, Christ, that I know who I am. Outside of you, I don't know who I am. I'm trying to be what the world would want me to be. So think about that. So the next time that you go and want to cut on something, or you want to change something, you want to mutilate something, you want to try to give yourself a new look and a new, oh, I want to have this and I want to have that swollen big and this and that, you know, only Jesus Christ can fill that void. All right, this is James from the I'm Free Project. I just wanted to talk about a couple of those things there. And again, you know, it's all about Jesus. At the end of the day, it is all about Jesus. And I encourage anybody, if you don't know him, get to know him. He is the way, the truth, and the life. And no one comes to the Father except by him. All right, Jesus Christ is Lord. Peace.